Good morning, this is Bob Schmitt. I'm going to click through a few images here. I want to give you a brief overview of year running clocks, or clocks that will continue to run for 12 months on a single winding. There were several methods of achieving this, and we'll try to give you an overview of these. And we'll come back and we'll look at these photos individually and discuss each clock's aspects in more detail. Among the earliest long-running clocks, or year-running clocks, are this pair. This is only one dial, but Thomas Tompion made two of these for the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, England in 1676. Now over a century and a half passed after the Tompion clocks when in New Jersey in the States, Aaron Dodd Crane invented the torsion pendulum clock. Now this particular model here that we're showing is an astronomical version with equation of time and phases of the moon, calendar, and other things, complications, but he also made simple timepieces with a rotating or torsion pendulum. In Austria and in Germany, weight-driven year-going clocks were achieved by applying 6 wheels in the train and then using a very large weight to achieve the year running. In the late 1800s, the Germans designed a reliable fusee-driven year clock. This one had approximately 40 grooves on the fusee and a very large spring barrel, and I've got some detailed pictures here. Here's a side view of the German year-running fusee movement. You can see the fusee just below center, and you can see the very large spring barrel above with the wrappings of fine piano wire, which are used for transmitting the power from the spring to the fusee and thence to the clock train. Here's a rear view of the movement in the 4-glass crystal regulator. You can see this particular model has spotted plates, but they didn't all have that. You can also see it's got duplex clicks because they're holding such a powerful spring. The Germans would make their fusee year-going movement with virtually any pendulum length that the clockmaker needed. Here's one made with approximately 25-inch pendulum for use in a banjo case. This banjo was retailed by Bailey, Banks and Biddle, and I've had a half a dozen of these year-going banjos, and they're all sold by Bailey, Banks and Biddle in Philadelphia. Here's a close-up view of the German fusee movement in the banjo clock, and you're able to note the very strong backing plate screwed to the back of the case with 6 large wood screws, and you can see that the movement itself has 3 heavy plates to make it very sturdy and to control the very high amount of torque that's involved here. Around 1877, a pair of Germans, Lorenz Jahlen and Anton Harder, applied Crane's torsion principles in a unique way to their own Jahresuhr, or year clock. The patent was first registered to Jahlen in 1877 and a couple years later was transferred to Harder. Harder simplified the application, extending a pin upward from the verge and capturing it with a fork attached directly to the suspension wire. Thus was born the glass-domed 400-day or anniversary clock that enjoyed commercial success for nearly a century. Here's a side view of Harder's version 1 torsion clock. And here's a close-up view of Harder's patent escapement. You see he took a Graham-style verge here, a deadbeat verge, and he extended a pin top center up, maybe an inch or so, inch and a half. He extended that through a fork which passed through the back plate and attached securely to the suspension wire. Harder's escapement with only minor modifications has been in use for over a century and is still used in modern torsion clocks. By 1900, this style movement appeared in 4 glass cases of all size and shape. Here's another one with a onyx top and bottom. Again, the same basic movement. This is a Jahresuhrenfabrik. And here's a grivolus, again a front wind movement in a very fancy case with cut crystal columns and applied bronze ornaments. And here's another grivolus case, this one with reeded bronze columns. A very nice clock. Okay, let's look at this Anton Harder 400-day clock in a little more detail. Let me take off the glass dome so that we won't have so much reflection going on with these lights. This clock dates to maybe 1880 or 81. It took Harder a while to find a company to manufacture the clock. Now the dial on this clock is signed Harder, Ranson by Steinau under Ober, that's a river, and under in the bottom quadrant it says DR for Deutschreich, patent number 2437. You'll notice the gilt moon hands, the numerals are of royal blue, and let's discuss the mechanics a bit. You'll notice if you observe the pendulum that the rotational period in each direction is a little more than 6 seconds. And it's just this 6 seconds, which is roughly 25 times greater than the time required for a swinging pendulum going back and forth. It's just this 25 times the time lapse that allows the clock to run for 1 year on a single winding. Now, if you look carefully in the top right quarter of the screen, you can see the verge with the pin sticking out of it vertically, and you can see it passing through the saddle, which is attached to the suspension spring, and you can see it moving ever so slowly back and forth and escaping near the end of the rotational period of the disc pendulum. You may have to look at this 2 or 3 times or back it up to see what I'm talking about, but I'm just trying to give you a first-hand view of what's going on here. Before and after World War II, a myriad of companies developed in Germany that were busy making year-going clocks. There was a Haller, here's a Kundo. They generally had a easier to understand 4-ball pendulum that was regulated by a thumb screw. Here's a Schatz. They were also made by Jahresuhrenfabrik and many other companies. Now this Schatz is a typical post-World War II model that could probably be bought at almost any garage sale in the US for $15 or $20. Now it may need cleaning and it may need a new suspension wire, but all of this information, videos on repair, are available right on YouTube. There's a multitude of informational sites. There's any 400-day clock that's maintained by Victor Tang and Mr. Mun in Singapore. Any 400-day is a wealth of information if you have an interest in 400-day clocks. The 400-day clock repair guide, first published by Charles Terwilliger or Horoliver Enterprises in New York, is the standard Bible for studying 400-day clocks. Terwilliger held his silent auction number 26, and that catalog is a popular piece of reference material for 400-day collectors. In any case, there's lots of information out there, and it's a fun hobby, and there are also articles at nawcc.org if you'd care to join that. And I just hope that this brief presentation has perhaps given you some new ideas and maybe some new reason for studying 400-day clocks. Thank you for your attention.